All right, so look, there's a lot of fear in the air right now. You can feel it moving through conversations, through people's bodies, through every corner of this society. And I really wanted to talk about this fear thing because every time I make a video about the collapse of this system, or I look at other people's videos and I look in the comments and all I see is fear. Well, maybe not all the comments, but enough of them to be concerning. All I see most of the time is fear, 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 fear. It's like a chorus that's moving through the collective. And I get it. I understand why people are scared. But that's exactly why I wanted to speak on it. Because fear has become the very thing that is feeding the system that we are trying to escape. You get what I'm saying? People are scared about what's coming, scared about what's already here. The entire American infrastructure is collapsing in real time. The government has already been shut down for 3 weeks with no ending in sight. Millions of federal workers aren't getting paid, while millions are losing jobs as the economy grinds to a halt. Next week, over 40 million Americans will find out that their EBT cards will not reload, realizing that the assistance that they depend on to eat is gone. That's not just numbers. That's over 40 million stomachs twisting, stomachs growling, over 40 million hearts racing. Over 40 million people facing hunger in a country that throws away food every day. Every single pillar of this society seems to be crumbling at once. The economy is unstable. The dollar is losing strength. The healthcare system is overwhelmed. The education system is hollow. The housing market is collapsing. The food supply is thinning. The infrastructure is decaying. The grid is fragile. The government can't even govern. You can feel it. The illusion of stability is gone. You got people losing their homes. People who can't find work. Families being broken up by ICE. People drowning in debt. People one paycheck away from sleeping in their car. Even the government workers who are keeping this thing going aren't getting paid. That's how deep the rot runs. The system is eating itself now. But what makes this whole thing worse is how fear itself has become a tool, a currency, a system of extraction. Because fear isn't just an emotion, it's energy. It's life force. And this entire system of white supremacy has mastered the science of extracting it. From an esoteric perspective, white supremacy isn't just political, it's metaphysical. It plays the role of the shadow within the grand drama of consciousness. It represents the part of creation that separated itself from the source and now survives by consuming everything around it. This system, by nature, is unaligned with the infinite self. It cannot draw power directly from the source because it denies that the source even exists within all things. But everything in existence needs energy to survive. So when something cuts itself off from that divine source, it must feed on others. That is the root of parasitic power. The system of white supremacy feeds on fear, pain, confusion, and despair. It generates chaos because chaos releases energy. It cultivates division because division weakens vibration. It needs humanity anxious, distracted, and doubting itself. Because the people who remember their divinity cannot be harvested. And in this era, the most efficient harvesting device is the phone. Most people think their phone only collects data, but that's just the surface level. The deeper layer is energetic. Every human being radiates an electromagnetic field, what ancients called the aura, or what modern scientists call the biofield. It carries not only electrical impulses from the nervous system, but emotional frequency, thought patterns, and subtle chemical signals of the soul in motion. So when you touch your phone, scroll on that feed, or talking to that microphone, you create resonance. The device becomes an extension of the technosphere, a synthetic nervous system that interacts with your natural one. Every vibration, every pulse, every pixel is calibrated to hold your attention and measure your energetic state. The cameras and sensors can detect pupil dilation, heart rate, micro expressions, even subtle shifts in temperature. The algorithms don't just know what you watch, they know how you feel while you're watching it. Now combine that with artificial intelligence trained on the emotional signatures of billions of people. It knows what fear looks like, sounds like, and feels like. So when this system gives you a headline, an image, a video clip, it's not random. It's energetic engineering. They trigger emotional spikes, outrage, grief, shock. On a subtle level, that energy feeds the grid that fuels this machine itself. Every time fear rips through your nervous system, it changes your magnetic field. That field interacts with the electromagnetic frequency of your device, your Wi-Fi, and the surrounding infrastructure. Energy doesn't just vanish, it transfers. So the same network that can transmit your signal through resonance can draw from the frequency that you emit. It's spiritual physics disguised as social media. And that's why these systems feel alive, because in a way, they are. They are synthetic organisms powered by human attention, energy, and belief. They need the life force of billions to keep running. And since this global system of white supremacy is disconnected from the source, it has no internal power supply. It must feed on external energy. And fear is the most potent, most consistent, and renewable form it can reach. But here's the truth that they can't touch. Energy follows awareness. The moment you stop reacting, you stop feeding it. When you scroll with consciousness instead of consumption, the system can't extract anything from you. When you use your phone as a tool instead of letting it use you, you reclaim the current. That's how you unplug. Not by throwing your device away, but by mastering your attention. And I need to make this clear. This is not about fake positivity, toxic positivity. No. And it's definitely not about being delusional. A lot of people, they hear what I be saying and they think I'm saying to ignore what's going on, just to smile through the suffering and act like everything's okay. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about toxic positivity. I'm talking about energetic discipline. Being aware without being afraid is not delusion. It's power. Delusion is when you let fear control the story and convince you that you have no power, no authority. Awareness is when you see the storm clearly and you remember that you are not the wind being blown. You are the consciousness observing it all. This isn't about pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about not letting it become your identity. It's not denial, it's dominion. It's remembering that even in chaos, your frequency is your kingdom. When you start living from that place, you start to realize how much of this world was designed to keep you from it. Every video, every headline, every title that goes viral carries the same tone. Oh, it's getting worse. Oh, they're coming for this. Oh, they're gonna do that. They're gonna do this. The end is near. Fear is addictive. Fear releases chemicals in your brain that keeps you scrolling. But awareness, real awareness, makes you pause. It makes you breathe. It brings you back to your kingdom. You can be aware without being afraid. You can look at what's happening in the world and not let it live in your body. You can acknowledge danger without giving it dominion over your vibration. Because the moment you internalize that fear, the moment you take that emotion personally, the system says, gotcha, bitch. Every time you open a video and your first reaction is panic, every time you go in the comments and everyone's repeating the same fearful narratives, that energy, that's back into the grid. The algorithm amplifies it, multiplies it, and sells it back to you in another form. That's how digital fear becomes spiritual food for this matrix. We can't be ruled by fear. We can observe, we can prepare, but we can't be ruled by fear. Because the moment that fear becomes your compass, you lose your direction. Fear will have you stockpiling on supplies while forgetting to stockpile on your peace. Fear will have you building bunkers and not building yourself. Fear will have you repeating the language of collapse instead of speaking the language of renewal, of rebirth. The most dangerous virus isn't in the air. It's in the mind. It's the belief that you are powerless. Belief is the gatekeeper of your prison. And every time you say, oh, there's nothing I can do, that lock clinks again. And that's why I wanted to talk about fear. Because you can't claim to be aligned with the infinite self or to be one with the source and still live in fear. Those two frequencies cannot share the same space at the same time. When you are aligned with the higher aspect of your being, the macrocosm of your microcosm, then the fear dissolves. You move with calm, with clarity, with love, because that is the natural vibration of the awakened mind. So no, this isn't about ignoring the world. It's about mastering your place within it. Your frequency is your kingdom. Protect it, strengthen it, expand it, because that's how you shift worlds. Everyone's panicking about systems collapsing, but that's what systems do. Every empire eventually burns out. Every illusion eats itself. So when programs like EBT end, yes, it hits hard. Millions will suffer, but the shock won't end with the poor. The entire infrastructure will shake. When 40 million people stop swiping those cards, what do you think happens to the Walmarts, to the Krogers, to the Costco's, the corporations that have been feeding off this government for decades? What happens when the government itself can't even pay its own workers? Their income collapses. The supply chains fracture. Their massive infrastructures crumble. And if you live in fear, your first thought's going to be, well, what am I going to do without Walmart? But if you live in awareness, you're thinking more something like, now, there's finally room to build something new. The death of their economy is the birth of ours. When giants fall, the ground becomes fertile again. The fire clears the field so that something sacred can grow. This collapse isn't punishment. It's initiation. Humanity is being forced to face the illusion that safety comes from the system instead of the source. And this moment is calling us back to community, to creation, to remembering that power cannot be taken. So how do you stop living in fear? You remember who you are. Once you understand that the foundation of reality is consciousness, not matter, you begin to see that everything is energy responding to energy. Every challenge, every crisis, every so-called disaster is just the universe reflecting yourself back to you. You are the dreamer inside the dream. You are the observer shaping observation. You are the infinite mind experiencing itself in this temporary form. And when you realize that the same consciousness that is breathing in you is the same consciousness that is breathing in everything else, then the fear dissolves. Fear loses its ground. You stop fearing life because life is you. You stop fearing death because death is transformation. And that's why the righteous are bold as a lion, because they remember who they are. Consciousness cannot die. It only changes form. So whatever happens next, whatever this collapse brings, don't let the system feed on your fear. Observe it, but don't identify with it. Transmute it. Recognize it as a signal to wake up. The moment that you start to stand still in the midst of the chaos and remember that you are the infinite self, the source expressing itself through flesh, and fear dissolves. It has no authority over the awakened mind. So breathe. Feel that air moving through you. That breath is the macrocosm reminding the microcosm that they were never separate. Fear cannot survive a mind that remembers itself. The world may shake. These systems may fall, but what's real cannot die. Because truth is, when it comes down to it, what you really are is just about the only real thing that there really is. Not your name, not your body, not your story. Those are just ripples on the surface. What you are is the stillness beneath it all. The consciousness before thought. The eternal awareness looking through every pair of eyes. And with destruction comes rebirth. These systems have to fail so that our heaven on earth can blossom. The decay of this empire is not the end of the world. It's the end of the illusion. What falls was never real to begin with. What rises now is the truth of who we are. And you, my friend, are what's real. One love, y'all. Thanks for watching. Peace.